Hey everyone, welcome back. Today is my last Epoch video, my first YouTube video in a while. Yeah, I've been really loving this game. I finally got a character at 100, and I've been really enjoying a build that I've been using. I followed a couple leveling builds, and I kind of went off of a couple other builds and kind of just stuck stuff together that I felt like I wanted to play. So let's go ahead and play a little bit of it, and then we'll go into detail about the skills, the blessings, the passives, and things like that. Awesome. Let's. Right now we are doing one of the bosses. We are doing Blood Frost and Death Boss, which is where two of the legendaries that we need, or uniques rather, that we need are going to drop from. So this build focuses around using Static Orb for our AoE damage, and we're going to be using essentially a chain lightning blast build. It has a lot of multiplier chance and a lot of multiple hit chance with lightning blast, and it shoots very fast. So as you can see, the damage ramps up pretty quickly. It's really fun to play. It has high single target, and it has pretty darn good burst and clear damage as well. So I'm really enjoying this build a lot. That being said, this is the first build that I kind of, well, obviously, like I said, it's the first build that I got to 100, or first mastery that I got to 100. And I'm sure other people play this build. People may have already made videos for this build. I really don't know. It's a little bit different from other builds that I've seen, particularly on the unique item front. A lot of people will use, excuse me, a lot of people will use Twisted Heart of Ukeros along with a different chess piece that's used in a lot of the builds. We got Frozen Eyes of Foremost. We don't need that. Unlucky we didn't get one of the items. Right now I'm just farming two of the uniques for LP right now. And yeah, well, now that you've seen the build in action, let's go ahead and end this really quick. See if we got any upgrades. So wand drop rate is always nice. Let's see, we got Scepter, we got Two-Handed, and we got Bow. I think we're going to keep Wand for now. We got a pretty decent roll on it too, so we'll keep current. Awesome. Well, let's go back to town really quick. Actually, let me show you a little bit of the wave clear really quick. You saw a little bit of it, but mostly just saw the single target damage. We'll go ahead and hop into one of these really quick. So the build relies on getting buffs from Teleport, which we'll go over in the items. It also relies on damage buffs from Flame Ward as well as popping potions. So the highest damage output that we're going to have is just after a teleport and after we pop Flame Ward as well as a potion. It gives us a lot of increased cast speed and a lot of increased damage. So as you can see, it's a 0 HP build, not exactly 0, but that's just what I'm calling it for the sake of this video. And a couple of the uniques that are used in the build are probably a bit counterproductive. I shouldn't need to use Heart of Ukeros with this build, but the HP and the +1 to elemental skills and the cast speed are all very good and makes it better than most of the other relics that I have at the moment. In fact, all the other ones. Otherwise, I would probably be using a different one, because Heart of Ukeros gives you it gives you ward and takes away HP depending on the amount of HP that you have at the time. So because I'm playing a 0 HP build, it's a bit counterproductive because I obviously don't have a lot of HP. So the HP that's taken from Heart of Ukeros and given to my ward is very low. But as you can see, I am on only, 150. I'm not on very high corruption at all, because like I said, I just hit 100 and I've just been going through all of my higher tier blessings. So it's not super high corruption yet, but I'm able to face tank pretty much all the bosses. for the most part. Obviously not the ones that have huge AoE and stuff like that or huge damage spikes, but okay, let's go ahead and go through the items first. So the two that are key to this build are Exsanguinous and Last Steps of the Living. So these both convert 15% of current health lost per second and give you 15% of missing health gained as ward per second. So we are staying at very low health and we're staying at a very high level of ward. So this is also going to give us good ward retention, good movement speed, ton of movement speed, 35% plus 17%, which is really, really good movement speed. You're chilled every 3 seconds. That's not too much of an issue because we have such high movement speed, and we also are using teleport every time it's off cooldown. Freeze rate multiplier while at low health. We're always at low health, so this is always going to be the case. And then for this, we get 30% increased cast speed for the first 4 seconds after casting up or after using a potion rather. So that's amazing. Immunity to bleed at low health. We're always at low health, so this is always the case as well. So these two items together are extremely strong for ward. So we're going to need a lot of ward retention for this build. So then we're going to go to Twisted Heart of Ukeros. This item is usually used in tandem with Prism Wraps because you have a lot of elemental leech. So the HP that you lose from Heart of Ukeros that's transferred into your ward is leached from enemies. So you're usually hovering around 80 to 100% of your health. So this is pretty solid. Like I mentioned before, I'm going to probably take Twisted Heart out of this build eventually once I get something better, but the 16% increased health is really good. The +1 to elemental spells is really good. That's 3 of my spells. All 3 of these I'm getting +1. And also the 8% increased cast speed is very great. The strength is okay. It gives me quite a bit of armor, but that will be swapped out eventually. So next we're going to go to gloves. We're going to want a lot of health on all of our items because that's going to give us more missing health gained as ward per second. So ideally we're going to have int, cast speed, health, ward per second, and things like that, as well as spell power, lightning damage, elemental damage, crit chance, crit damage. So those are the main ones that we're looking for here. So health regen per second isn't super important, but it's nice to have some. But I got health, cast speed, and endurance. Void resistance is always nice. Void and necrotic resistance are super important when you get to higher tiers. And 80 armor, that's great. So rings. I'm probably going to swap this ring out at some point, but the intelligence and the ward retention on this is extremely good. The intelligence also gives you better ward retention. So here we can see I have 337%. When I take this off, 250. So this intelligence alone gives me 80 ward retention, and ward retention is extremely important for this build. So other ring, I was running a second set ring. Let's see where it is. So I was originally running 2 of these, which keeps me around 420 ward retention. But the spell damage and elemental damage and health and crit strike chance from this ring is extremely good, and I was finding myself to be very tanky at the lower corruption. So I may end up swapping this back in later for the additional ward retention. But for now, I'm going to keep this for the health, which also gives me more ward, and the elemental damage, spell damage, and crit strike chance. For belt, percent increased health is amazing, and that lightning damage is just really, really good. Dodge rating is a little bit irrelevant. I could try to re-roll that, but not worth taking off one of those, as this is a really good belt for me right now. And then the mana regen is always nice as well. For the wand, we're going to want for the prefixes, we're always going to want mana, spell damage, and decreased mana cost. It's always super, super helpful. Those 3 stats are very important. Increased lightning damage, increased spell damage is great. The ignite on hit is very irrelevant. I'm going to definitely swap this out at some point too. And the freeze rate multiplier is okay, but not something that's too crazy. We'd ideally want some we ideally want the T6 to be lightning or spell damage or crit multiplier or crit damage. I'm not sure if crit multiplier can even be on a wand, but we're definitely going to swap this out eventually too. For the offhand, I'm opting for the 5% flat crit strike chance int and ward retention from the skull, crystal skull. The void and necrotic resistances are actually amazing defensive rolls, and crit multiplier is super important too, and that 84% increased crit chance is obviously amazing. So here, the helm, the +3 to lightning blast and 76% increased spell damage is insanely good, and I got vitality, which gives me more health, and flat health and percent health. So this is an extremely good helmet for me right here. And the increased critical strike chance, 59%, is awesome too. So for the for here, the amulet for cast speed, 10% flat cast speed is really good. Again, we have more necrotic and we have crit multiplier, and 90 mana is a ton. And the goal for this build is to have over 300 mana so we get bonus buffs from our idols, which we'll talk about here in a second. So the chance to apply frailty on hit is okay. It reduces the damage dealt by enemies, which is good because it's going to keep your ward up higher. It's just a little bit of bonus that we're going to get from that. And so now we can go over to idols, and then we'll do blessings. So here we have crit chance with lightning and mana spent gained as ward. So the mana spent gained as ward is great, and the crit strike chance with lightning spells is great because we are using obviously predominantly lightning spells. For these, the percent increased lightning damage doubled if you have over 300 max mana are huge value. If you can get one of those along with another lightning blast, static orb, or cast speed or something like that. I don't remember everything that comes with these 2x2 idols, but 15% chance to cast lightning blast when hit while you have lightning aegis. This build also will always have lightning aegis, which is insanely good. We'll get to that when we go into the skills. Here's another one that's extremely important, if not critical to this build. So 8% chance to gain lightning aegis when hit. That's not super important because we automatically always have it up because of the static orb tree that we go down. But 87% of damage reflected while you have lightning aegis. So that's 100% uptime. Very rarely will you not have lightning aegis up because right now we have it on a 6-second cooldown, and you're usually casting lightning orb once every 2, 3, 4 seconds. So that's huge. Here we have more increased lightning damage as well as more increased lightning damage while you have lightning aegis. So this is kind of like, this is basically 32 times 2. So this is almost 100% increased lightning damage. And then for the smaller ones, we have plus mana to get us. This is just one that just got us over the 300 threshold that we need here. And then we have 6 mana. That's another one to get us over that threshold. This one's very good, 4% ward retention and some more health. And then here we have more increased health with lightning damage, which is obviously great as well. So next we're going to go over the blessings. I have a couple that I'm still going to need to re-roll at some point. The drop rate ones aren't really super important. We're mostly looking at the stat ones. Crit multiplier is a huge one. That's just a lot of extra damage that you're going to be dishing out. Wand is nice. Chance to shred lightning resistance on hit. This one is the most critical for this build. So Ending of the Storm, this is 100% a must-have for this build for the lightning resistance shred on hit. It amplifies their, or it decreases their lightning resistance, so you do more lightning damage, obviously. So we have more wand drop rate. Critical strike avoidance is very good. Less chance you'll get one shot, less chance to get critically hit, and obviously take less damage. Skill shard drop rate. Increased armor is another huge one. This build does not have a lot of armor, as you can see. So this gives us a big buff there, and then here's another armor increase as well. So we're probably going to tweak a couple of these later down the road. I'll update you guys when I have a bit more information on that. So next we will go to passives. So for Mage base class, we don't really need health and mana. Health is good, but the damage that we get from the other items and the damage that we get from the other talent passives is probably exceeds the just flat health that we get from here. This is 100 health, which is a lot, but we're also getting a lot of health from our items as well. So here we're going to Max this out because it's just 56% increased lightning damage, which is huge. We're going to put 2 in here for the intelligence so we can unlock the next tier. We're going to get 1 point in here so we can unlock these. 5 into Warden. 50% ward retention is amazing for this build. We want as much ward retention as we can. Then we're going to go 15% increased attack speed and cast speed. And also we're going to get the 3-point bonus that increases the cooldown recovery for teleport. And the more we have teleport off of cooldown, the more we have the teleport buffs that come along with it. And the only other item in the base class is this crit multiplier and increased critical strike chance. This is just insanely good. You should have this with every build for Sorc. And probably for Spellblade too, I would assume everyone uses this. The others we're not going to need here. I'm not going to go into the ones that we're not using. So here in Spellblade, we're definitely going to go this for the elemental resistance across the board, as well as increased elemental damage, 30%. It's awesome. So for Sorcerer, we're going to go 5 into Arcane Momentum. It increases attack speed and cast speed a ton, which is amazing. And we're also going to get the 6-point buff here, increase spell damage per stack, and increase the duration. And we're going to get movement speed when we have max stacks. So here, we're going to put 5 into this to get the buff, which is increased spell critical strike chance per intelligence. And obviously we have a ton of intelligence with this build. As you can see, we have 53. So from there, we're going to go to Afterglow, which increases more ward retention and spell damage, both critical for this build. Next, we're going to go heavily into the lightning tree down here at the bottom, increase lightning damage and shock chance with lightning skills. Lightning Pen, which is amazing, and Lightning Damage Leech, which is going to be why you see the HP going up and down when our items are giving us less health regen. Then we're going to go to Increase Critical Strike Chance, and we're going to go to Spell Critical Multiplier. Up here, we're going to go 4 into Intelligence and Insight chance on hit. We could go higher here for the Intelligence, but the Insight chance on hit, we only really need 20% because of how fast Lightning Blast hits and procs multiple bounces. So we're almost always going to have Insight as well. Also because Static Orb is hitting a lot of enemies around us when we're AoEing. So we almost always have Insight here as well. For the next tree, we're going to go spell damage and increase mana regen. This is just 5 flat spell damage, and the mana regen is great. It's always good to have some mana regen, even though we do use focus. Next, we're going to have more flat elemental resistance, more increased elemental damage, and increased stun chance with elemental spells. Stun is very good too because it can block a lot of normal and mid-tier mobs' spells when they're casting hard-hitting spells. We're not going to do anything from this tier. We're going to go, this is huge, Archmage, 5 spell damage and tripled if you have 200 max mana. We have 300 for another part of our build, so this is going to obviously be tripled, 15 spell damage. And then up here we're going to go cooldown recovery speed so we can keep not only our lightning Aegis up, but so we can have teleport up as much as possible and have our teleport buffs up as often as possible. So now that we've gone through the passives, let's go ahead and get into the skills. So here are the 5 spells that we have: Static Orb, Lightning Blast, Focus, Flame Ward, Teleport. So we'll start with Static Orb. We have +1 from the elemental spells with Twisted Heart of Ukeros. So firstly, we're going to go over to the left side in this tree, which is a huge part of this build. Usually Static Orb will shoot out just in front of you, but we're going to put 1, 1, and 1 here, so the orbs orbit you in a circle. This allows you to not have to pay as much attention aiming towards a certain way to hit enemies, so we can just teleport in between enemies and cast Lightning Orb and have it explode all around us. It's much more efficient at clearing waves. So next we're going to go down here, Explosion Tendrils. This is just to unlock the next ones. So Lightning Aegis is the key to this build. So you could technically leave this as 2 points because that would give us 4-second duration, and we are casting it usually every 2 to 3 to 4 seconds. So you would have it up always, but sometimes in boss fights you want to just sit there and spam. If there are no AoEs down, you want to spam Lightning Blast. So you may be standing still for 4, 5, 6 seconds, and if you don't have Lightning Aegis up, there's a good chance you can get one-shotted by bosses. So the 6 seconds, the extra point in this is just to be safe. So we're going to also unlock this. It explodes a little bit earlier, but it does more damage, and there's a bigger area to offset the explode after 4 meters. We're always going to take 4 here for the crit multiplier. It crits almost every time because of our crit chance. We're going to go projectile speed, so they're orbiting around us faster and additional damage. This is another key one. After using Static Orb, the next Lightning Blast cast from any source chains 2 additional times, and this will happen for 4 Lightning Blasts. So the ideal rotation is to cast Static Orb to give us the Lightning Aegis, and then we're going to cast at least 4 Lightning Blasts because we'll get those additional chains. And this is also applicable to bosses. You want to be casting your Static Orb to get to get the Lightning Aegis, so your your Lightning Blast will do more damage. A couple honorable mentions. The damage ramp and projectile speed is okay. We could probably take this out and put it into the max chains, which I think we actually will do that here. Probably worth to just have the 5 into chains, especially for the boss fights. It just gives you an extra chain of 2 more lightning blasts. So let's go ahead and go to Lightning Blast. So we have the +3 from our helmet, and we have the +1 to elemental spells from Heart of Ukeros. So first things first, we're going to go down this tree here, base crit chance and damage to unlock this. Maximum additional chains is going to cost a little more mana, but we're not too worried about that because we have -3 mana cost from our wand. And then this is a big one here. So the lightning is now going to hit the same target after delay, doesn't chain to additional enemies. So this is really now only for single target. Before, if you don't have this talent, you'll chain to other enemies, but you can't hit the same enemy twice unless you have this point. So it does give us half maximum chains, but we're getting a ton of extra chains from other places to offset the down part of this talent point. So next we're going to go here, 4 additional chains per recent direct cast. So we're always casting this at least 3 or 4 times. So we're usually at 4 maximum additional chains, which is great. Then we're going to get cast speed as well as damage against shocked enemies and damage against chilled enemies. Some of our attacks do chill. We have a decent chill chance, and a lot of times the enemies are always shocked. So these are both active at the same time, which is great. We're also going to go here, less bonus damage per chain, but it's giving us 100% damage. So the chains will do a little bit less damage, but it's still going to give us a ton of damage overall. Then we're going to go here, crit multiplier +40, which is amazing, and double cast chance. So there's a quarter chance that you're going to cast twice when you hit it. And then here, 25% chance that it quadruple casts. So we are doing an insane amount of lightning blasts in a very short duration. So this half maximum chains isn't a huge it's not a huge detriment to the build, let's say. So let's go ahead and go to focus. So firstly, we're going to go here, ward from burst, ward per second, and ward retention. 100% ward retention is insane, super good. We're going to go haste after channeling. So this ward retention is only while focus is active. So you'll see it goes even beyond the max threshold when we're casting focus and we're not moving. So for instance, you'll see it go up even more here, which is awesome. So it's building more and more when we're trying to regain mana with focus. Oops. And then we're going to go here to increase health regen. This will give us some decent health, and will also give us some health. So the first couple casts that we do coming out of focus will give us more ward from Twisted Heart of Ukeros. And then we'll also have less elemental damage taken while we're focusing because we're obviously not moving. So that's super helpful as well. Then we're going to go increase mana regen 100%, which is obviously amazing because we want to use focus as short a time as possible. And then we're also going to get a percentage of the mana that you're missing when you start channeling. So this will give us an extra damage bump. As you can see here, we'll go super low mana. And then we'll cast it. And then see that additional bump that we get after a second? That is super, super helpful. It's to get a good burst. If you're very low in fighting a boss, it gives you a good burst. And then finally, we're going to have max mana gained while negative. So you'll usually want to go negative, and it'll give you a bonus 20% of your max mana. So as you can see here, we'll get to the negative this time. We only went to 0 initially. There we go. See, it goes much, much faster. So that's extremely good for this build as well. Next, sorry for this, guys, for the coughing a little bit. I have a bit of a sore throat, but so here we're going to want to convert this damage to lightning first of all. So we're going to put 2 in here, and we're going to put third for the duration and the mana efficiency. It's very good. Then here we're going to do increase fire damage, which doesn't seem like it'd be that good, but then here we're going to change fire damage to lightning. So this is giving us a ton, 200% lightning damage when we have Flame Ward active. That's insanely good. Then down here, we're going to go ward per second plus 30 to unlock this, another 50% ward retention. So this is why I'm starting to take away some ward retention from my items and get a little bit more damage, because I have a ton of ward retention from my passives as well as my skill points here. Then here we're going to go an additional ward granted 80, not too great, but that's to unlock this portion of the tree. Percentage of missing health granted as ward, 24%. This is amazing because we're always at low health. So 24% of, say, 1700. That is a lot of ward that we're going to be getting. Then we're going to get additional ward gained for a little bit longer cooldown to unlock this, which is going to give us 2 charges. So it is a 2+ cooldown. So it's 14 instead of 12 seconds, but we also have 2 charges. This is insanely good for boss fights because this allows you to teleport, cast static orb to get lightning aegis, then pop flame ward, then pop a potion, and that's when you're going to be at your strongest. So if you can do that combination, that skill rotation twice instead of once against a boss, that's going to increase your damage output by a ton. And then lastly, we're going to put a couple points of extra barrier, so you're taking less hit damage while you have your flame ward up. And finally, we're going to go to teleport. So we're going to want to unlock this. So firstly, we're going to go 2 here for armor cold resistance, 5 for stat buff duration, which is going to increase our buff duration by 100%. So then we're going to go here, spell cost refund after teleport, increases the cooldown, but we're going to also offset that by cooldown recovery speed 50%. And then this is huge. You cannot be stunned if you've cast teleport recently, past 4 seconds. So we have a 6-second cooldown, which is obviously from the cooldown reduction that we have from the passives as well as this. So we have a 66% uptime of no stun. And I believe, let's see if it's actually 100% uptime. Yeah, so we have, as you can see from the modifiers, we have 100% 0 stun chance uptime from this. So we can never be stunned, which is critical to this build, because if you get stunned, your ward can get melted pretty darn quickly. And then next, we're going to go over here, and we are going to get 1 point here just to unlock the next portion, 50% increased elemental damage. So this, along with the 100% stat buff duration, as you can see, elemental affinity, teleport stats. So we have 100% uptime of 50% increased elemental damage as well. I have a feeling that with some of these damage modifiers, we may eventually need to take some points out of the more DPS oriented talent points and put them into more ward retention. But at the moment, at the current at the current corruption that I'm at, I think my highest one is nearly 200 corruption. I'm still able to tank most things. So for now, I'm prioritizing a little bit more damage than the flat out ward retention. So I'm going to be looking next for Exsanguinous and Last Steps of the Living with LP so I can get some better stats on there. And I don't know what exactly I'm going to be taking Heart of Ukaros out for just yet. I don't think there are any other uniques that I really need for this build. One possibility is Aurora's Time Glass, which does give you 24% word retention. The bottom is potentially not really needed because you're already at below 30% health most of the time anyway. The cast speed is nice and the 12 health is negligible. Right now the 90 mana and the crit multiplier from this and the cast speed is very good to keep us over that 300 threshold. Otherwise we'd have to move a lot of passives and other items over to get us over that 300 mana threshold. So for the moment, this is kind of where my build's at. I have seen mostly Lightning Blast builds, like I mentioned before, with Prism Wraps and Twisted Heart of Ukaros, and I'm fully aware that this worked counterproductively with Last Steps of the Living and Exsanguinous, but I've tried without Twisted Heart, without the 16% increased health and cast speed, and +1 to elemental spells. I feel like it's just too good to swap out for something else right now. As you can see, 200 health is lost there from that 16% health. Well, now I actually need to re-add these. Where was it? Okay, so we're going to go, yeah, here. And then here. Nope, it was here. Damage. And then the last one here, I believe, was here. So that's pretty much it for my build, guys. I was also running this similar build here, but with static on my right click, and the lightning or static orb was using arcane current to generate static charges. So maybe I'll switch over to that build again and do a video on that build if you guys are interested. I'd love to hear if there are any other items that you guys think would add a lot to this build. One item that I think would be amazing is Vessel of Strife. Let me pull it up really quick. Vessel of Strife. So Vessel of Strife gives you flat mana, health regen, also applies to ward, which is great. You'd have to switch into more health regen for that to probably be viable, but it also gives you mana, which is nice, so we wouldn't have to compensate for the 90 lost mana from our amulet here, because that's tough to regain 90 mana. But other than that, there aren't any other items that I really think I'd want to swap out or any more uniques I'd want to put into this build. Maybe Foot of the Mountain would be nice, but I also see Strands of Souls. Let's see that. So Strands of Souls is a belt that gives you 30 to 70 ward retention, 5 plus 10 ward gain on kill, 7 to 12 ward per second, and 100% of mana spent gained as ward, which is amazing. But our belt already is giving us lightning damage, increased health. I would still probably change that out for Strand of Souls, but it looks like Strand of Souls is rare from Fall of the Outcast boss. So I think I may go for farming that and put that into the build and see how that works. One of the next builds that I'm probably going to work on once I get Vilatria's Storm Crown is a Lightning Meteor build. So I'm going to probably try that one out once I get the item, and then I'm also going to probably switch back over to my static build, and I'll maybe do a video on that to see how you guys like that one as well. But yeah, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing a ton of Last Epoch content as well as Diablo 4 when it comes out. I took the first week off of work after Diablo 4 comes out, so I'm going to be streaming and making videos for that as well. And please comment if you have any suggestions for potential items that I could swap in to kind of make this build better, or any idols or any blessings I don't have that maybe would help me out a lot. Like I mentioned before, I'm pretty new to this game. I have only 100 hours into it. A couple buddies of mine started playing it. Well, one buddy in particular, Scorny. Shout out to Scorn. He got me into this game and I'm really liking it. It's my first 100, and this is the first build that I've kind of made on my own. I was following some of the pre-made builds for a while, and I was liking them, but I kind of wanted to do my own thing and see kind of how far I could take it. So I'm going to keep farming higher corruption and see what I can do with this build and hopefully get some upgrades along the way. And yeah, we will go from there. So thank you guys very much for watching. Send me some suggestions and give me some maybe other classes that you guys have enjoyed playing. I've also made a Lich and a Marksman and a Forge Guard. And those are all around level 50, 60, so I'm going to be playing those a little bit here and there as well. But if you haven't already, twitch.tv/therayquan is where I stream. And thank you guys for watching again, and have a great day.